This episode is supported in part by Sacred Wright's public scholarship on religion, gender, and sexuality through a grant from the E. Rhodes and Leona B. Carpenter Foundation. You can find Sacred Wrights online at sacred-rights.org and the Carpenter Foundation at carpenterfoundation.us. Welcome to Classical Ideas. This is Greg Soden. On this episode, I am delighted to welcome Dr. Raj Kumar Singh. Raj Kumar Singh is a PhD researcher in anthropology at the University of Delhi, currently studying the relationship between religion and economy in Dharamshala, India. On this episode, we discuss his article, Commodification and Tibetan Buddhism, an Anthropological Study. I really hope you enjoy this conversation with Dr. Raj Kumar Singh. Dr. Raj Singh, welcome to Classical Ideas.
Yeah, thanks, Grevi, for calling me in this podcast.
I'm delighted that you're here. I'm wondering if we can start this by having you just introduce yourself a little bit to the listeners out there so they know just a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm Dr. Raj Kumar Singh, currently working as a research associate at Indian Institute of Management, Himachal Pradesh. And by profession, I'm an anthropologist. I did a lot of research on the relationship between Buddhism and economy among Tibetan refugee community in Dharamshala, which is in India, Himachal Pradesh. And it's almost like a journey of 10 years. From my master's, I have doing this study. So, and in between, I also did some other research work, collaborated with professors from different areas to get more ideas about things.
Excellent. I would love to know a little bit about your academic journey. Can you tell me about some major turning points along your intellectual and academic path, like anything that maybe stands out as a major turning point for you for finding your area of academic interest and expertise?
So basically, the journey starts from 2015 when I was in my master's and I went to meet my current PhD supervisor, Dr. Mitashri Srivastava. And she was again a woman that was working, as a researcher. She was working in Buddhism for the past 10 years. So she advised me actually that Rajkumar, why don't you work among the Tibetan Buddhists that are there in Delhi? And I was like, ma'am, it's a good idea. I should proceed with it. Yeah. So then I went to a monastery in Delhi itself, which was a Tibetan monastery. And I found out that this monastery is quite old. And one of our Prime Minister, Rajiv Gandhi, was there when it was actually started. And then somehow, it became a turning point in my career. And since then, 2015, I have been researching in Tibetan Buddhism. What actually fascinated me, among Tibetan Buddhists, that they came as refugees in India. They created their own institutions, monasteries, central Tibetan administration, and became well established. They are at this point of time, you can say that they are the richest refugees in whole of the world. A refugee community having its own parliament, having its own Supreme Court, having its own, monasteries and whatnot, schools, colleges, so, or even medicinal system. So all these things, when it actually amazes me that how a community that was actually, that still is refugees able to do so much. So the reason behind that, it excited me and I went on to do more research about it. Second, for on my PhD topic, I was actually I would say thanks to my PhD supervisor. So again, I was attending a conference with her that was on gender and Buddhism, and she was actually presenting a paper, and I was there, and I found out that most of these monks who talked about materialism, who talked about actually anti-materialism, were actually too much materialistic. They were having iPhones or big cameras, laptops, iPads. So I was like, dude, is this real Buddhism? Uh, or have you learned something that actually differs from the current situation? So that was one. I think these are the two major points that actually made me think that how I should actually proceed in this particular field.
Excellent. I would love to know just a little bit about why anthropology, religion, and economy matter to you? Tell me why those like areas like kind of combined into being an area of interest for you specifically.
See, anthropology is the study of humans. So anything that is associated with humans, be it any social institution, religion, economy, gender, marriage, so everything is anthropology. Specifically, the reason behind like talking about religion and economy was, as I told you, because I saw monks with big laptops, big iPhones, with so much of materialistic things. So I was always looking for an answer that why they are using it. Do they have an answer? Because Buddha was a prince, and he left everything and become a monk. And here monks are being materialistic. So how this change has come up? What is the reason behind that? Is there any reason, or what they are practicing is a kind of a diffuse Buddhism, or there are certain bad elements that have come into Buddhism. So what is the reason behind that? So this was one of the reason. And to be very honest, when I see now after 10 years, with the I can see that every religion has certain kind of ethics, you know, that is related with economy. Be it Islam, where we have the concept of halal, you must be seeing that. In Hinduism, we have our own caste system that is also a kind of economic system. In Christianity, also there is a thing. Christian ethics has a relationship with livelihood and economy. So from there, now I can say that every religion has its own economic ethics. You know. So yeah.
Excellent. Well, I want to discuss one of the articles that you've written. It's called Commodification and Tibetan Buddhism, an Anthropological Study. And you already kind of described a little bit about the wealth of the Tibetan Buddhist community within India, and then the refugee status. So I feel like we have a pretty good overview of your interests in specifically Tibetan Buddhism and how that came to exist.
Mhm.
But let's talk about livelihood within Buddhism, because this is something that's always really interested me. Remind listeners what we need to know about right livelihood within Buddhism to set the stage for your article.
So Buddhism, like Lord Buddha, has preached 8 noble paths. These are the 8 noble paths a person should follow to attain enlightenment or to live a good life. Right livelihood is one of them. So what does actually right livelihood means? It means that you are not killing someone, you are not stealing from somebody, you are living a very honest life. You are not making extra profit. Extra profit in the sense that you are not exploiting people, so not killing animals or plants or anyone, you know. So you are following a very good, lenient life, very honest life. So this is what right livelihood means. For instance, if at this point of time, I have to compare it in modern times, if I am dealing in arms, if I am dealing in drugs, then it is wrong livelihood. Even the Buddhists say that even if you are selling the statues of Lord Buddha, that is also a kind of sin. You know, there are texts in Tibetan Buddhism that says that even as a person you should not make the Buddha statues just for the purpose of selling it, because it's not good. It's not right livelihood. So these are the things. In the past, it was more about whether you are doing business ethically or not, whether you are overpricing, over exploiting people. Yep.
Excellent. One time I talked to a person who is a Buddhist who studies Tibetan Buddhism, and he owns a restaurant. And I was like, do you consider it wrong livelihood in order to sell alcohol to people in your restaurant who are clearly intoxicated? And it was a really fascinating conversation. So I love being able to add a little bit to that conversation. Have you talked to like any restaurateurs about wrong livelihood at all?
Yeah, I have talked to many of them because it was part of my research. So when I put actually this question that why are you actually selling non-veg or liquor or intoxicants like that, they had a very common answer that it is due to the needs of customer. We have to do it. But again, there were few that were not doing this because they believe that Buddhism does not allow them. You
Excellent.
know, but
Yeah.
there is another anti-climax to this scene when I actually talked to a monk who was actually carrying pork. So I said that why are you actually eating pork? He said that if somebody gives me in donation, I have to take it.
Mhm.
So there are conflicts in between that too.
Absolutely. Okay, well, something that was really interesting about your article to me was the mention of the work of Max Weber.
Yeah.
What did Max Weber report on Buddhism and his sociological works? It's something I've never talked about on the podcast before. I wonder if you can just give a brief overview over what Max Weber reported on Buddhism and his work.
So actually, Max Weber was the first one that actually talked of the relationship between the religion and economy, religion and capitalism, you can say. So he says that all the Eastern civilization, religions in the East, like Buddhism, Hinduism, Confucianism, they do not have that capitalistic spirit which the Christianity has in the form of Catholicism. So that's what he says, and he comes with a conclusion that Buddhism, would never be able to have that capitalistic spirit. But there were scholars like Gregory Chauffin, who from their work they have said that no, it's totally wrong. It's a misinterpretation that Max Weber had. Buddhism or Eastern religion, they have their own kind of capitalistic spirit. So we do have capitalistic spirit. Even one of the very senior professors, Professor David Gallner, he has actually talked about this in his research book that is on the religion of India. So in that also he has talked that whatever Max Weber interpreted is a kind of I can say misinterpretation of the text, and he was actually going with the text, talking about the text, but society keeps on changing. So he was never able to understand the dynamics, you know. And my own research, what I have found in my research, that Buddhism actually was a religion of the businessman. Monasteries were the first banks. You can find, if you do a survey or look at the map, you will find that all of these monasteries were on the Silk Route, and Silk Route was the business hub. So they were not, just a place where monks were living. They were a place where you can find all these businessmen they used to live. And at times, Buddhist monks and businessmen, they used to travel to the same place because monks needed money, in order to survive, donations in order to survive, while businessmen needed security. So they were secure with the monks. People won't attack them, and in return monks would get the donation. So that's how Buddhism actually spread to the whole of the world.
Excellent. Well, I'd love to know a little bit more about economic development within Tibet. What do listeners need to know about economic development and the economy in general within the territory of Tibet today?
So what is happening in Tibet today is China, People Republic of China, they are actually destroying the old monasteries, at times killing the Tibetan religion, Buddhism, Tibetan language, and Tibetan culture. So they somehow they want development. China need a development. They are creating railways and everything in Tibet, but not for Tibetan, just for the reason that it's better that Chinese army can come up to that place. And even they are placing Chinese people in Tibet. And Tibet is almost at 30,000 feet, you know, 3,000 above the Himalayas. It is known as the roof of the world. And there are many rivers that actually originate from that particular area. And now what is happening, because even the Chinese, they are coming there, they are living only for 6 months because they are not able to adjust to the harsh terrain that is there, the harsh weather that is there. But now China has come up with another thing. He is actually making sure that Tibetan and Chinese intermarry with each other, and then they create a progeny, then they create a generation that is able to adapt to the harsh weather. And the development that the China is doing, Tibetan never wanted. So what is happening, even at times you might have known, listen to it, that in uh, in France there was a museum where Tibetans were protesting because they were labeling it as Chinese, that, and China is doing all that, Tibetan medicine, China is selling them as the Chinese medicine. So anything that is there in Tibet or produced in Tibet, China sells it as its own. So it's a kind of thing where China is trying to erase their identity, their culture, and Tibetans themselves that are living there, they are not allowed to speak in Tibetan language.
Hmm.
in schools, it's strict that Tibetans should learn only Chinese and they speak only the Chinese language.
Interesting. Is the Chinese government constraining economic growth within Tibet? Are they keeping it small economically, like on purpose? Who is allowed to work? Things like that.
Yeah, somehow they are trying to do that. But as you know, Tibet is a part which is under China, and China do not allow so much of research on that particular area. Although previous researchers in one of the project, that is business, believers and Buddhism, that was started by Copenhagen University, and some of the researchers that were working, they were saying that it is trying more and more commodification of the Buddhist art, of the Tibetan Buddhist heritage, of the Tibetan Buddhist culture, but it makes sure that Tibetans, they do not get any benefit of it. So you will find it's a very interesting case. You will find that people are selling Tibetan medicine, but they are not Tibetans, they are Chinese.
Mhm.
So Professor Stephen Clues, who actually works on these Himalayan medicine, specifically on Tibetan medicine, he cites one example where someone bought Tibetan medicine which was actually sold by a Chinese woman, and some Tibetan later told him that this is not Buddhist like Tibetan medicine, it's Chinese medicine, and it won't be more useful to you.
Excellent. I would love to know a little bit about Tibetan Buddhist items of any kind and how the cultural Tibetan Buddhist like artifacts or, iconography or anything like that is commodified and sold in the world. So tell me a little bit about how Tibetan Buddhism has been commodified to be sold and packaged to the outside world.
I think the best example would be of Thangka paintings, you know. So Thangka is basically a sacred art which has been now being commodified. So even in the past, it was only developed by Buddhist painters, Tibetan Buddhist painters, when there was a special occasion or somebody actually, a king or a very high lama was coming. So it was given to them. So that was one thing. Another thing was is with the Buddha idol itself, the idols of Buddha, the idols of very senior lamas, you know, and Tibetan prayer wheel. So all of these things, they are being commodified. Not only by the Tibetans do get a share of it, but majority of them is by other communities who even do not know, because let's say I'm not a Buddhist and I am buying a thanga and I'll be holding it in my house. It does not serve the purpose, because thanga is a very respected thing and it has to be placed at a particular, height, at a particular stature, at a, you know, a place where, it looks good. It gives you the energy that you actually want from it. And at times when we talk of the Buddha statue itself, we place it somewhere. So this is how things are getting commodified, and people are opposing it also. You will find that there is a Tibetan uh, tattoo arting, or Tibetan, as I told you, even Tibetan medicine also. So this is the way things are getting commodified.
Got it. I have a couple things I wanted to show you. So I
Yeah.
have these.
Yeah.
So I've got these bells here
Mhm.
that I got from a Tibetan Buddhist monk who studied with the Dalai Lama at Namgyal Monastery. And I've also got this singing
Yeah.
bowl. So I also got this from him as well. So I mean, are these like kind of examples as well that kind of trickle into the outside world about the
Mhm.
commodification of Buddhism, where it's like, you people in the West and around the world buy these items and then ship the money back to people who are like living in the region. Is that kind of an example too?
Yeah. 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 It's true that it is happening. But in the case that if a monk has given you, it's actually very precious and it's very auspicious. A fascinating example I would tell you, when I was actually in doing my ethnographic research in Dharamshala, and I found a person that was hell bent on buying something, which was actually very old. So when I asked him that, why do you want that old? you can buy something new. He was saying it's very important to buy the old because the Lama must have blessed it. The person who is actually holding that Tibetan prayer wheel, he must have circumlated it like 1,000 times. If I can buy that, I'll be buying that blessing too. So the older the thing gets, it's much more, the price gets higher.
Excellent. Tell me a little bit about some of your favorite travel experiences for yourself as a researcher. Have you gone to any of these places and seen some of this stuff for yourself? Do you have any cool stories of traveling and during your research process?
So yeah, I have been traveling all over India, and I like to tell you one story. When I was traveling with Professor Antonio Denapoli, she's from Texas Christian University, and I was assisting her in Kumbh. Kumbh is the largest congregation of Hindu in India. So when I was going there and I was thinking about my research, I was a very new to my PhD at that particular point of time. So I find out that people were like uh, millions of people actually visited Kumbh. It happens in Prayagraj, Uttar Pradesh, in India. And we were there doing a study on gender and Hinduism. And we find out that all of these people, somehow they want to visit that particular place and have a dip in the holy Ganges. you know all of them, and they wanted to take out some water from that particular place and move to there. Second is, I was traveling to one of the indigenous communities of India that lives in Assam, Bodoland, and we were working with Bodo tribe. And the kind of religion that they actually practice, it's a mix up of their own indigenous religion and Hinduism. So that
Excellent.
was very fascinating for me also, because for the first time I was traveling to northeastern part of India. I lived there for a month. Again, I was assisting Professor Antonio Denapoli. And again, I find out that how this, you know, amalgamation of both Bodo religion and Hindu religion is being practiced by this particular tribal community.
Excellent. I know you also traveled to Namgyal, correct? I read about that a little
Yeah,
bit in your article. Tell me a little
yeah.
bit about that experience and what that was like.
So Namgyal Monastery is also known as, I would like to tell you, it's also known as His Holiness Dalai Lama Temple. So it's a place where His Holiness has been living, I think, for the last 50 years. So this is the main attractive center of Dharamshala, where anyone who visits Dharamshala, they actually move on to uh, visit Dalai Lama and this particular temple. So there are like thousands of monks that are living there in that particular monastery. They are practicing Buddhism and learning things. What I found most interesting is that, when you go and talk to the monk, they are very cool, calm-minded people. They will tell you things.
Yeah.
Uh, my whole journey, it would be in. Uh, I need to remind myself all the time that it is because of the monk I was able to do ethnographic study. My good friend Lobzang, who is also the head of Tibetan middle way approach. So Lobzang, as a monk, he actually came from Tibet to India some 20 years back, and he's a monk. So he was the one that actually took me there, and then I had a talk with so many monks that gave me much more idea about Buddhist philosophy and how and why actually they are using all these applications, all these technologies. The reason that they tell me was very fascinating, that we need to be in contact with the people. Today, we need to have a socially engaged kind of Buddhism. We cannot live in caves more. The society is changing, and as a monk, it's our social responsibility to connect it with the people and tell them what is right and what is wrong. At least advise them, if not follow them, make sure that they follow it, but at least advise them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because the social political context around China and Tibet is something that I know they've been, working for decades to inform the outside world about, so that the outside world actually cares about this issue.
Mhm.
Great. Well, what are you working on in the future with relation to this topic? What do you have in the works?
So basically, there are two to three things that are going on at present in my mind. Uh, Presently, I am working on halal food, you know, trying to understand because currently the Uttar Pradesh government in 2024 it banned the halal food because it's a kind of parallel economy that was running. Any person that needed, many of them were actually taking that halal trademark. So, and they were dealing in it. So the government actually banned it. So I'm trying to understand that what is halal, why it is important for the Muslim community, and why, certain uh, people of other communities are against it. One is that. Second is, I'm thinking of doing a postdoc where I'll be exploring the borderland economy that will be between Bhutan and India. There is a place which is known as Jaigaon in West Bengal, and in Bhutan it's Phuntsling. So it's very nearby, like 5 kilometer. The border is there, and it's all Buddhist. So I want to see in a borderland economy how actually this Buddhist ethics has its role to play, because things are cheaper in Bhutan, and a bit costlier in India. So how they tackle all this? What are their reasons? What are their rationale behind all of this? And what are the things that is getting trade here? Are the like Buddhist culture or Buddhist religion, is coming from Bhutan, or are, as in like India is uh, trading something there? So I'll be working on that.
Excellent. Well, are you going to do a book or something on that topic?
Yeah, most probably if I get a good grant, then I will definitely work on it. My initial idea was actually to conduct a similar study on the Indo-Nepal border also, but due to certain reasons, I thought that I would do it later, but first connect these two because Bhutan and India have a very good relationship and the border is very porous. So I don't need a visa. I just need my passport to enter it and do ethnographic fieldwork there.
Wonderful. Tell me a little bit about your work with Sacred Rights, the public scholarship program that you were recently involved with.
Actually, it was very fantastic. It was great to meet all these kinds of people and understand that how, as a scholar of religion, as a scholar of anthropology, I should personally present my research work to the public in a manner that makes sense to them and it's acceptable to the society. So I think the training that we receive and the cohort that we had was too diverse, and that was actually very good when I came to know that, oh, there are so many people that are struggling with the same thing, that how to present your research
Yeah.
to the public. Because let's say I have written a thesis that is of 500 pages, but it's useless if my own neighbor does not know about the work. So they actually provided us with the training and what to do and what not to do, how much public we should go and how much we should limit, what are the things that we should opt out, while speaking in public, what are the things that we should avoid. So all these training were given and it was a very fantastic kind of workshop. I would again like to participate because there is so much of learning. You learn so much from your mentors, you learn so much from your peers. Yep.
What why do you think that it's important for you to get your work out into a larger audience in the public? Tell me why public scholarship matters to you specifically.
See, the reason that I was doing research because there was something going on in my mind, that how Buddhism and economy are related, why monks are using all these things, how things are getting commodified. So when I find out, when I meet all these people, you know, they believe that the similar things are going even in their mind. They criticize. They say that this is a diffuse Buddhism. This is not the ideal Buddhism. And so from there, I think my work can at least give them some answers to what they are thinking, and it can help them see the Buddhist world in a very different way because they are also human. They need money. They also need certain kind of assurance, certain kind of wealth to make sure that they continue their own practice. Even as a monk, a monk also needs money to continue his life, to make sure that he or she, a monk or nun, is able to travel to certain places, give preachings, and make sure that they are able to create some kind of social change in the society. So I think it can provide a different lens to the people to see the world, to see the Buddhist world, and uh, answer some of their questions, if not
What
all.
are what are some of your goals in public scholarship? Like, what kind of work do you want to do that's accessible to the world beyond higher education?
So I am thinking of the podcast because it's very common. People actually listen to it.
Yeah.
And yeah, in future, I'm thinking of making some videos because I want to learn visual ethnography also. It's a very uh, cool thing to do, to be very honest. You are making visuals, people are watching it, and they are seeing the world through your own lens. So these are the two things, and even writing in newspapers. But again, it's getting a bit old. You need to connect with the people directly on Instagram and on Facebook, even on LinkedIn. So because people usually like to do all these things and they respond much better there. So these
Excellent.
are the things that I am planning.
Well,
Yeah.
Dr. Singh, where can people find you if they want to follow along with the work that you're doing?
So they can find me on LinkedIn. It's Dr. Raj Kumar Singh, where I am continuously engaging with the people. Because at this point of time, as I am working, so LinkedIn is a better platform to connect. And yep, they can find me there.
Excellent. Well, Dr. Raj Singh, welcome. Thank you for joining me on Classical Ideas and hanging out to talk about your work. I really enjoyed your article, "Commodification and Tibetan Buddhism: An Anthropological Study." I hope you'll come back on the podcast someday when you finish that book that you're going to write. So you're invited to come back again for another chat part 2 in the future.
Sure, sure. Thank you so much, Gregory, for giving me this platform. And I think it will make sure that some of my work reaches to the people. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yep.